Dragon Ball Z Kakarot Season 3 has begun, and it's all about Dragon Ball Daima. The DLC has been split into two parts, with Part 1 releasing today and Part 2 coming out sometime in 2026. I've put about 6 hours into this DLC so far. In those 6 hours, I have finished the main story, did most of the side quests, and a lot of exploration. And even though they split Daima into two different parts, this part alone is their biggest DLC to date. The third Demon World is gigantic, and it's full of new collectibles, mechanics, and characters for you to meet. But just like Daima had a slow start to the show, this DLC also has a pretty slow start when it comes to boss fight encounters. So let's talk about everything it brings over to Kakarot, starting with just how much Daima this DLC covers. If you've watched Daima, you know the Demon Realm is basically broken up into 3 Demon Worlds. You enter through the third Demon World and work your way down to the first Demon World, where we eventually fight against Goma. This DLC covers the third Demon World portion of the story, so it goes from the very start of Daima to the fight between Goku and Tamagami number 3, teasing some upcoming events right after that. As soon as you select the DLC, it gives you a warning that it's now gonna give you a 19-minute cutscene. Yes, you can skip it if you want. It's basically the first episode of Daima, but this is all animated in-game. CyberConnect 2 animated a full 19-minute episode inside Kakarot just to kick off this DLC, and it is fully dubbed in both Japanese and English. I sat through it all and appreciated every second of it. It really is just a recap of the first episode though. The bad news is that there is no gameplay on Earth. That means that initial fight between Goku and Vegeta is actually skipped. Gameplay only really starts once we get into the Demon Realm. Now this place is huge, absolutely gigantic, and it feels even bigger because flying is disabled. All of your exploration is done on foot, but that has made the exploration feel a lot more meaningful as well. As you run around, if you care about collecting everything the game has to offer, it's a lot easier to miss the little nooks and crannies that could have rare materials or treasure chests, which are brand new in this DLC. Treasure chests contain a lot of familiar stuff though, like rare items, community board presents, and D-medals. So the items you get are not exactly new, but they are contextualized better. It makes a lot of sense to make them in a chest rather than just laying around on the floor. At some point, you also unlock Demon Rumors, which are these collectible pictures spread throughout the world. You may recognize them. They are pretty similar to what you had in the base game, but they've been upgraded as every single one of them will trigger a small voiced cutscene between the gang.
Seems kind of boring for a castle.
Excuse you, this castle's amazing. My dad bought it forever ago with the money he got from shaking down thugs.
That must have taken a lot of work.
These are usually pretty short and painless, but it made me appreciate the collectibles even more. Also, they yap a lot while running around. Not everyone loves this in video games, but to me, it made the adventure feel a lot more alive and a lot more immersive.
Going a day without a shower's no big deal. I skip my showers all the time.
And I absolutely don't want to smell like you.
It really does feel like a brand new world. It's still Kakarot, but almost feels like a new game since nothing carries over from the base game. All the items are different, the currency is different. There's a new encyclopedia, which also has a different look. The one thing that kind of stayed the same are the training rounds for learning new moves and the community boards, which we have new members and I still have nowhere to put them. With all the DLC they have released so far, they could easily just give us a new board for all these new characters. Just saying. You're gonna be running around a lot in this DLC. The world is pretty massive, which is why unlocking fast travel felt like a really big deal. There are many fast travel spots, each one must be interacted with to be unlocked, but once you do unlock them, you can just shoot from one place to the next using the Sky Seeds. Towards the end of the DLC, you also unlock an airplane, so you don't have to run to a seed in order to fast travel. You can just open the menu, select your location, and fly to whatever seed you want. But thanks to how traveling works now, the game feels a lot more like an actual open world. It's still not exactly open, as when you travel from one landmass to another, there's always a loading screen, but the illusion of an open world is executed a lot better, since you can just open the map and see everything is right there, connected, whereas in the base game, locations often felt disconnected from each other, and that brings this whole game's feeling a lot closer to what a traditional action RPG is. The DLC also includes 8 side quests, of which I've now completed 6. They're still not voiced as usual, and are still mostly silly fetch quests or fishing, but remain a great way for CC2 to explore and expand the Dragon Ball universe beyond what the show has given us so far. One of these side quests actually unlocked a repeatable training mode, so they are worth doing to unlock more content. And that has actually made me wonder why they don't do trophy trophies for DLC. It would be a nice way of guiding players to doing more content other than just the main quest, and give them bonus rewards if they complete everything the DLC has to offer. Something to think about, Bandai and CC2. DLC trophies. Give it a shot. That said, they did put all of this effort into the world and exploration because that's what you do for most of the DLC. As far as boss encounters go, you only have 2 of them, the Tamagami and Gordito. Now, don't get me wrong, these boss fights are absolutely worth playing through. They have brand new unique movesets and cutscenes that will just blow your mind. It is peak CyberConnect 2 work. The one downside is how poorly the level scaling was done, because by the time I reached Guerrero, I was already 20 levels above him. The NPC fights in the open world scale with your level, but for some reason the story boss fights don't. I was beating up some level 90 thugs before the boss fight against Galerio, who was just a level 65. And so the fight itself ended up being very underwhelming to me, but after you beat the game, one of the things you can do is the usual expert training mode, where you get to replay the previous encounters at a higher difficulty, and bosses have a lot more moves. So eventually, I did experience that fight as it should be played. Still, only 2 boss fights is a bit lacking. It's by far the biggest shortcoming of this DLC. But also outside of Goku vs Vegeta at the start of Daima, I don't really know what else they could have added. I guess they're saving the boss encounters for part 2. That's not to say there's not a lot of combat, there definitely is. Many moments you fight against thugs or the demon cops, using the grounded combat that they introduced back in the 23rd World Tournament DLC, both against single enemies as well as horde battles. In fact, you have a ton of horde battles in this world, since the cops are often protecting locations of interest, like fast travel points, campfires, or this diner where you can buy food from that gives you buffs. The biggest innovation though is the lack of eyes on Goku. Wait, what happened there? The biggest innovation to combat is a new debuff mechanic. Some attacks might apply a debuff on you that will apply burning, poison, paralysis, or a headache. Yes, a headache. It drains your ki over time. If you just power through them and ignore them, you will suffer. You can die extremely fast on hard difficulty because these effects will stack up. And so to counter that, you can pick up and consume specific bugs to counter those effects. They are consumables, much like you had healing items in the base game. You now have healing bugs and status effect bugs. There's also a passive skill that you can equip that reduces status ailment effects, and once you max that out, the debuffs do become something you can mostly ignore, but before you unlock that, it does add another interesting layer to this combat system. Also new to Daima is Panji being a guest character. Previously, you already had supports, and in this journey, the Supreme Kai and Giorgio are gonna fulfill that role. You can call them to throw special moves, upgrade their skill trees, just like a normal assist in the base game, but Panji is a guest character, which means you don't control her at all. She acts independently, attacking whenever she feels like it. But you can still upgrade her skill tree, giving her new moves and upgrading existing ones. Goku is the only playable character this time around. It is a brand new Goku with a new skill tree as well, but most of the moves here should be pretty familiar already. He does have a new power pole move that is really good for catching multiple opponents, and he's also got this tiny spirit bomb. I love it. It's so cute. Holy crap! Eventually you do upgrade it and it becomes more of a standard spirit bomb, but I thought the base version looked kinda cool. You unlock Super Saiyan after your fight with Gazebo, and Super Saiyan 2 after you fight with a Tamagami, so you'll mostly use Super Saiyan 2 in the post-game content. None of this transfers back to the base game. It's all pretty self-contained so far, but who knows, maybe Daima Part 2 will give us a Super Saiyan 4. This DLC is almost the opposite of the 23rd World Tournament DLC, which had little to no exploration, but had boss fight after boss fight after boss fight. This one is almost all about exploration, with a couple of boss fights along the way. Whether that's good or bad comes down to what you like doing in Kakarot. Personally, I think they did a great job bringing the demon world to life. They made me feel immersed in its universe. It made me interested in exploring and collecting, which isn't always a thing in Kakarot. But bringing the exploration to the ground made collectibles a lot more interesting. But if you only like Kakarot for the combat and the boss fights, I think this DLC will be disappointing to you, as it really is all about those two big moments. They work really well when integrated in the story as a whole, but if you're just speedrunning for boss fights, you should probably wait for part 2, which might be a bit more action focused than this. But that's the Kakarot Daima Part 1 DLC review, the biggest DLC they have done so far, and it really shows. I'm really excited to see what they do with part 2 as well, but that is gonna do it for today. That said, if you still still need more Kakarot in your life, you can check out this video right here. Thanks for watching. Bye.